This is Clint Carney from the movie Dry Blood, and you're listening to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast.
As you walk through the valley of the shadow of hell, you will realize that there is something ahead. Something that lurks behind the dark veil. A veil that is beyond our own comprehension. Beyond the void.
What's up, guys, and welcome the fuck back to a brand new year of Beyond the Void
Horror Podcast.
That's right. We got somebody here with us, and it is an old friend of the podcast, one of the helpers and creators of the show, and in some way, and that's Patrick.
Hey guys, how you doing? Good to be back. Just trying to get used to this again, and been having a little bit of fireball with my friend here, Alex.
Yeah. He's like, it's been a while, dude. It's been a while.
I gotta get this seat warm again.
Yeah. You're not going to pass out, though, or anything, right?
No, I won't do anything like that. I'll just make a fool of myself.
So, guys, it's a brand new fucking year. I will let you know, we wanted to bring Patrick in because Brittany was supposed to be here, but unfortunately, she's had to deal with some surgery, which, I'm literally waiting today to find out how everything went.
The outcome, yeah.
So we wish her the best. By the time you hear this, we'll probably already know. But yeah, we were a little worried about her. She should be fine. This is something that will help her out in her life. So she told me, she was like, "What do you want to tell them?" I was like, "What do you want me to say to them, Brittany?" And I was like, "'Cause you're not there." And she's like, "What? That I'm going to be turned into a monster or something like that?" I was like, "Well, you should ask for robotic legs."
There you go.
And she was like, "I already did." I was like, "Oh, that's Brittany. That's Brittany." So, yeah, Patrick's back here today to fill in, which is awesome. We haven't hung out in
almost a year.
Almost a year. We did hang out a couple of times. So for those of you that have not heard of who Patrick is, he used to be on the show as a regular for almost a year.
It was a year.
It was like a year, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the curse, man, everybody leaves at a year.
Well, if you don't know who I am, then guess what? You're a poser.
You better recognize. You better get in on some old episodes and start listening to some Patrick. Clint Carney is going to be here today with us to do an interview here shortly after we have our intro and our horror shots. He's a filmmaker, artist. He does painting, sculpting, props. He's been known as a musician and also the lead frontman for the band System Sin in the industrial scene. And he also tours as a backing vocalist and keyboardist for Imperative Reaction and God Module. So, but the thing is that over the past couple of years, he has actually been working on a project for horror movies. He's been working in the movie and film and commercial industry for a long time. He's also done music videos, and he's going to be here today to talk about his movie called Dry Blood that's coming out here in the coming week or so. About a week after you hear this, it will be out to the public, and there's going to be some places that you can see it live, at a theater. So he's going to be talking about it. We had a great interview, so I'm really looking forward to you guys to hear this shit. So, but yeah, man, Patrick, fucking glad you're back, dude. I miss you, brother.
Back. Yeah, I miss it too, bro. It was a big part of my life when we were hanging out and doing this every day and fucking.
We were making magic, Patrick.
We were making magic, dude. In more than one way.
And that sounds really weird.
Dude, it's supposed to be a little weird, dude.
He was blowing me so well. No, I'm kidding.
Dude, the Dutch rudder in this place was phenomenal.
Man, we would stare into each other's eyes and just orgasm. It was amazing.
We do like to look at each other a lot.
We used to call it the motion in the ocean so our ladies wouldn't know what it was. I'm just kidding. All right, so we've been having a little bit of Fireball. I know that's weak sauce for a lot of you drinkers out there, but I typically don't drink as much anymore, although I have done it a couple of times on the stream for the new year during the break.
Right.
Because I've had 2 weeks off. We've had 2 weeks off with the podcast. I've taken weeks off, but I've still been doing the video game streaming on Twitch, which if you guys aren't following that, you're fucking dead to me, okay? Because, like, we have so much fucking goddamn fun. Sometimes I act like a fucking idiot and dress up like a clown. I put on this fucking mask and I come out as this character.
It is a wicked looking clown.
It's fucking Bucko the Clown.
You know what I'm saying?
Dude, it's fun, man. We have a good time. So if you would like to extend your horror menagerie or whatever you want to call it into video games as well, we play a lot of that. You can watch me scream like a little bitch. And yeah, it's fun. We have a lot of laughs. So
yeah.
But yeah, man, I missed you, brother. I'm glad you're back.
I'm glad to be here.
Did you have a good New Year?
You know, I'm old now. I didn't do shit.
What? Well, yeah, I guess well, it's also a Monday. So,
right.
But I hope you guys who are listening now had an amazing New Year. 2018 can fucking take a shit for all I give a fuck.
Dude, yeah, I'm so glad 2018's over, bro.
I mean, there was some really good stuff that's happened, but I'm just always looking forward to the new year. And I'm not just one of those guys that's like, oh, it's a new year, fluffy, fluffy. No, I actually have goals. Christina made me sit down and write goals on a piece of fucking, this is the cute thing, on construction paper. A piece of red construction paper with a marker.
You have to visualize it.
I wish it was a smelly marker because it would have made it so much better.
Right.
But like, yeah, like I have some goals now, and it's not just because, it's because I've wanted to, and this is the excuse I needed to make it happen.
Why don't you rattle a couple off for us?
Oh my God, dude. No, some of those are pretty personal.
Oh yeah? Stop masturbating so much.
Stop masturbating.
Stop fingering my asshole.
No, stop masturbating and crying. So
Okay.
that's the part, that's the part that I really need
Do
to
not
get past.
use tears for lubrication.
Yeah. No, just stupid shit like lose weight, but also like I want to write an entire synthwave, dark synth album.
Dude, you've been talking about this forever, bro.
For the moniker, the Subgnostic, which is, it's not Black Ops, which I've done and a lot of people know me for, but I'm trying to do it. So if you've never heard, we have a web page or a Facebook page, but I haven't done jack shit with it really. I've been doing music behind the scenes for like a short horror film.
Right, scores and stuff.
And I also put some music into video game for like ATV, RX versus ATV. It's some of my friends made the game, and but I put some music in it. So I want to make an album with 9 songs. It was very specific, 9 songs. So this year. Plus, hopefully, one of my buddies who's doing another feature film for horror wants me to do some music, but I want to do that too. So, did you have any goals for this year? Like,
I'm going to try to quit smoking, dude. You know how big of a smoker I am, and I'm just...
Yeah, you're ridiculous. You know what you do to stop smoking as much? Not smoke inside.
I don't smoke inside anymore.
You don't?
No, we smoke on the porch. So
have you lowered your cigarette intake?
It's almost like it's gone up.
Fucking Christ, dude.
Like, I'll be like, fuck, I don't want to come back out here. I'll have like 2-3 cigarettes when I'm sitting outside.
That's the problem. You need to go 1 and be back inside.
Right.
And then be lazy and not want to go back out.
Well, as soon as I get this money that's supposed to be coming to me, I think I'm going to try to switch over to vape.
Okay. Well, to be honest, vape isn't going to make it. Like, it helps some people, but to be honest, you really just need to be like, I'm done. I need to not do it. You know what I mean? I've cut from 2 packs a day to 1 pack every 2 to 3 days now.
See, yeah, I'm going through a pack a day. Between me and my wife, yeah. It's like
you got to cut that shit out, dude. This is your father speaking.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, guys, I hope that you guys had a fucking amazing new year. Even if you didn't, let's fucking make this year fucking amazing, because for horror's sake, it has been a fucking amazing. And we have been very fortunate to have so many fucking films to choose from. By the way, we will be doing our top 2018 in the coming weeks. It'll be not next week, but probably the following week. Next week, we have an interview with Necro, the death rap artist. So you're going to want to stick around for that. We had a really good conversation, but I think it might be that time.
Oh, shit.
Horse shots! All right, guys. So we're back to do our horror shots, even though I decided to drink, and I don't normally, but Patrick's here. It's a celebration. We came up with a horror shot based around the movie that Clint Carney has done. It's called Dry Blood. So we're calling this a dry blood shot. And for those of you who will see the movie, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, nor do we in the interview, by the way. We were very careful about that, even though we wanted to go into that area. So in the movie, the short synopsis of the movie is basically this drug addict goes to a cabin to basically try to come clean, basically, from all the alcohol and drug abuse that he is involved with. So for the dry blood shot, the horror shot that we're going to be doing, this one is going to be a rimmed shot with powdered sugar. So you're going to want to lightly wet the top, maybe even take like a wet towel and just like touch the top a little bit and then stick it in powdered sugar.
Okay.
So that the rim is white, kind of like the drugs that are in this movie in some way. Clever.
Yeah, very clever.
Then you're going to want to take a half a shot of Campari, Campari. It's a red liqueur. You're going to also take a half a shot of Mad Dog Banana Red. So Mad Dog 2020. Yes, I know. Banana Red, because we all go a little mad, don't we?
We go a little bananas.
Yeah. Go. Oh my God. You'll also take this shot while listening to the band of Clint Carney's called System Sin. It's a song called Here's to You from the album Here's to You. And you should be playing this loud and proud while you drink this shot. And that's it. That's it.
Let's shoot it up.
Yeah, so I don't want to spoil anything for you for the movie, but it all makes sense once you see it. You'll see. So we don't have that here. We're just drinking Fireball just a little bit. But if you'd like to find out how to make a dry blood horror shot, all you have to do is go to longlivethevoid.com and check out our hashtag horror shot section now. That's it for horror shots. All right, guys. So now we're going to go ahead and jump into our interview with filmmaker, artist, musician, Renaissance man, Clint Carney right now. So stick around for that. Afterwards, we'll be doing our GravePlots, where we pull a name of a movie that we made up on the spot out of a crystal skull with diamond eyes and make up a horror movie on the spot. So you're going to want to stick around for that afterwards. So let's jump into the interview with Clint Carney right now. All right, guys, today we have frontman for System Sin and musician, artist, writer, filmmaker for many films, TV, videos. His current movie, Dry Blood, is about to hit the streets. Clint Carney, welcome to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. How you doing today, man?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming on, man. It's been a while. You've been doing a lot behind the scenes lately.
Yeah. I've been just working on a ton of film projects, and very excited to finally have my first film as my first feature, rather, as a writer, producer, and actor come out this January.
Yeah, you had a lot of hands in this film, so pretty impressive stuff, but I guess that's kind of what you have to do when you want to get things done, huh? Yeah,
with an independent film, you kind of just got to wear whatever hat needs to be worn at the time, you know. Yeah. But unless you have a huge budget to work with and a big crew, you kind of just have to do whatever it takes.
You know, and a lot of the heart comes from those things, too, because you spend so much time. It becomes more, I don't want to say passion project, because that kind of like lowers it, but in a way it is.
Oh, yeah, no, it's totally a passion project for sure.
Yeah, you've been working on that for like 3 years, and I don't know if you remember this, but I think I met you back at a God Module show that you were helping out with on that show in Phoenix here. And since then, you've kind of changed directions a lot in your art and different types of art form. You've become kind of the Renaissance man of sorts and creativity. Yeah, I mean, I definitely remember meeting you at that show, and I have been working. I mean, I've been working on art and writing and painting and whatever film for my whole life, basically, you know, just making shitty films when I was in high school and stuff like that. But when I had met you, I was definitely focusing on music at that
point in time in my life. And now it's kind of, I'm still working on music for sure, but I think my main focus has really switched to film for the time being.
Right. What was your first memory of like wanting to get into some sort of artistic thing? Like, do you have like, what was your first direction?
Oh, I've always been into it. I mean, I think I saw The Blob with Steve McQueen when I was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. And that was the first horror film I saw, and instantly loved horror, and started drawing, when I was old enough to hold a crayon, and I just never stopped. And so I've always been creating, visual media, and then, started making films when I was in high school, and, really terrible short films.
Can you share like one of the stories from one of those? Because I'm curious.
Oh, yeah. Well, originally, what really drew me to horror, or at least when I started getting really hardcore into it, as a kid, I just loved the special effects. And anything, right. any kind of creature in a suit or any kind of gore effect, I was just obsessed with. So I started out getting into film wanting to be a special effects guy. And so I would just come up with a gag that I would want to do, like a beheading or a gunshot or, someone getting their eyes stabbed out, things like that. And then I'd just write a little shitty 5-10 minute script all centered around whatever action is going to lead to me getting to do that special effect. So that early stuff was very thin on plot and good dialogue, and more based around just how do I make an excuse to do this effect on camera.
Well, you mentioned The Blob too, so I'm sure you're a fan of 1988 Blob, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's a special effects masterpiece right there, even though it didn't do good in the theater, but.
Yeah, well, I think it's had a great life after, especially with the effects were just top notch. And speaking of remakes from that era, I just watched The Thing a couple nights ago, again for the millionth time. But man, I'll tell you, those Rob Bottin effects still hold up.
Right? Oh my God. Like those two movies in particular are some of my favorite special effects movies. There's plenty more, but those two always stick out for me. Yeah,
and it's nonstop. Like you don't go 10 minutes without just a crazy, amazing special effect in those films.
And it just like you said, it just keeps going. It's like in The Thing where they have that scene where the guy gets his chest, like he's getting the electroshock thing, and then his hands get chewed off, the head falls off, it just keps going. It's like, oh my God.
Yep. Yeah, I know. It's a thing of beauty.
Well, and it's funny because I thought when I first heard the inklings of you getting into film, and you've been doing that for quite a while, more than I knew, but I thought that you were doing predominantly special effects at first, which you've done sculpting and painting, so that kind of like works together in some way.
Yeah, actually, started out aside from stuff I was just doing on my own, as a kid and stuff like that, actually seriously getting into the real film business.
Right.
I kind of fell into that. I was a tattoo artist for a while, and my buddy Skip Crank, who is a prop master, he does a lot of different film and television stuff. He was one of my tattoo clients, and he's also a fine artist. He does really cool sculptural stuff, and we were showing art at a gallery called Hyena Gallery here in Burbank, and I show paintings there, and he was showing his work. And he was working on Scream 4. He had actually worked on all the Scream movies. And they were looking for some artwork to show in Scream 4. There's a sequence in there called the Stabathon, I think it is, where, the stab is the version of Scream that exists inside the Scream universe.
Right.
And so they needed some paintings done for the background of the Stabathon of the ghost face. So I did a painting for that, and that's how I got into props. I just did that one painting, and then from there I just kind of snowballed. I kept getting hired to do artwork, and then eventually building physical props and things like that for film. And it accidentally turned into a career for a while.
Yeah, well, and a lot of your artwork too is like really dark. It's always got like a darker element to it. Like I think you did even like a Tales from the Crypt sort of the Crypt Keeper, and I think you did I do a lot of horror themed art for most of that stuff where it's like a character from a film is for
themed group shows, but
Right.
the stuff I do on my own when it's not, prescribed theme is still on the dark side, but it's not. It's my own characters and weird creations.
Yeah,
And-
you have a thing for horns too, I think, right?
Oh yeah, can't go wrong with horns.
I noticed a lot of your artwork has like that one guy that's like puking up that green blood or whatever on it. It's pretty. He's got horns, I believe. I could be wrong, but then you have the one with the cat with the horns. I saw.
Yeah, oh yeah. There's one with like the devil holding a cat. Yeah, and the cat's got like a spiked tail and stuff. Yeah, that's actually one of my cats. One of several cats I own posed for that painting.
Well, I thought it was you like holding the cat on your shoulder.
It was, yeah, totally.
Okay.
That cat pretty much lives on my shoulder. So, I snapped a picture of him doing that one day and then decided that would make a nice painting.
Yeah. One of the things that I thought about when I watched your newest film, I thought about like one of your last albums from System Sin called All Seasons Pass. And and it was based on a true story of a girl that was murdered and buried in the woods, and then her body surfaced after the snow and the season changed. And, like the whole album it was like this concept piece with a storybook, and it like really complemented the music. It was really pretty impressive stuff. My girlfriend is a huge fan, by the way, of that album. And she even bought one of your zombie busts that I think that you did.
Or, God Module, I think.
Yeah. But can you tell me about why that story in particular inspired such a concept piece for you? And was it inspired for the film Dry Blood? Did it inspire that?
Well, there is actually some, I'll say loosely based on reality, because obviously it took some creative license with it. But I had just written a song kind of that was in the world of this story. Just, a lot of times on most of my albums, other than that one, I'm writing from my own perspective or maybe from someone else's perspective, but from a more personal of a story, that I'm personally involved in, and in this I kind of experimented and inserted a viewpoint into this tragic story, and then it kind of got out of control from there. Then I wrote another song like that from an alternate perspective, and pretty soon I was working on this album that was kind of telling this whole complete story, but it was only complete in the way in my head, and I knew, or I suspected, that no one else would even understand that it was telling a story. So I decided, I'm going to fill in a lot of the blanks, and I wrote this novella to kind of fill in the blanks and do a little more justice, I think, to the event. So Dry Blood is not based on that. Mm-hmm. But it exists in that same world, and there's actually a reference to All Seasons Pass in Dry Blood. It's the first time you see the cop in the film, and he's just talking to the store clerk, and he's actually talking about the case from all Seasons Pass, which is great. It's a little Easter egg that 5 people will ever get.
Well, and you know what? I saw the store clerk also had a System Sin shirt too.
Oh yeah, definitely. And my character in the film, this is a real subtle one because you never focus on it, but there's a System Sin sticker on the back of my phone. but you can, it's the one, it's got like a piano keys on it, so you never see the word System Sin, but if you see that, you see the piano keys sometimes, and that's the only way you recognize it.
Shameless.
No, yeah. Well, it was a low budget film, so I had to use my actual phone. So
right. We didn't have big budget for a brand new one.
Yeah. Yeah, I love hiding Easter eggs and things. It's always fun, and it's real fun when people actually catch them. Of course, I just spoiled those ones. Now they're online, and anyone can hear them and know. But it's real fun when people discover fun little Easter eggs.
Yeah. And it's interesting to me too, because you've been writing music for a long time, and I haven't been writing music as long as you probably, but I do have I'm a huge fan of horror, and you are too. And I always kind of find it interesting for people like whom we might be, who started out sort of doing all kinds of different art and doing music, and like in your mind, when you write songs, do you think, this is what this movie would be about? or this is the song that would play during this scene or something like that. Like, do you think about that when you write music?
Not really. Again, most of my music is very personal. So usually if I'm writing a song, it's to exercise some kind of demon, Right. So I don't think about the context of how it will be perceived or used in the future. Right. I just do it to kind of get that out of my system. In fact, I mean, really, I know a lot of artists say this, but it really is true. I really do just write music for myself. And if it finds an audience, I'm always pleasantly surprised. But I've written literally hundreds of songs that I've never played for anyone else. So right. I just enjoy doing it. But then sometimes I'll like, a collection of songs enough and it turns into an album. I like the horror aesthetic, I like monsters and gore, and it's just something I've been into. In artwork and stuff, I just tend to write and paint things that I think are cool.
Right, yeah.
Or I hope so,
Well, you have, I think one of your first albums that you wrote was in the 90s, late 90s. It was Hate Parade for System Sin.
Oh, yeah, God,
and
that was
you
awful.
Had plenty. Yeah, wow, you grow,
Oh, yeah, I self-released 6 or 7 albums before I got a record deal, and that was the first of the self-release. It was all recorded on a 4-track, I'm
wow.
dating myself here because, I'm old as fuck. And, so it wasn't until Premeditated, which I think was written in 2003 and came out in 2004. That's when I finally got a record deal after, writing albums and submitting them to every record label under the sun since the late 90s. And I'm glad. In fact, if I could do it over again, I'd go 2 albums beyond Premeditated and would have not wide released Premeditated or Postscript, and probably would have just gone right to The Morning Ritual. If that were my debut album, I would be much more happy with that. But even then, I think I can't even listen to that album all the way through. I think it's not until End. That album, I think, is pretty solid all the way through, and everything beyond then I'm still relatively happy with. But when you're a kid and you're making music, you just got to trial and error. You're learning as you go. I didn't have any real formal music training, so I think I've
self-taught.
I've grown over the years, I think, and stuff's gotten better just naturally. I'm glad I didn't grow up in today's era, though, because every awful piece of music I ever written would be on the internet for eternity. So luckily, there's some of those early albums. They're still, I see them pop up every now and again, but I wish they wouldn't. I wish they would just die. They're really awful. They're not even listenable. But everyone starts somewhere.
It's not, at least it wasn't on 8-track. I guess it's not, you're not that old.
No.
But
I had an 8-track, but I didn't have the technology to record on one.
Well, after you've been doing, it says here that you're working on a new album and everything, and I know that you've been doing Patreon, where you actually, people sign up and then they help support whatever you're doing, and you also get any track that you're working on. I
did that for a while. I actually ended up closing down the Patreon.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah. I had some, very loyal, awesome subscribers on there, and the reality of it is that I'm so busy that I didn't have time to update the Patreon as much as I would like to. And even though it was only like $1 a month or whatever, I didn't feel right about taking a subscription service until I could have more time to just really dedicate myself to putting out content on the regular, and I just didn't. So I shut it down. I don't know if I'll ever go back to it or not. If I find myself with an excess of free time and know that I can feel good about having a subscription service like that, I'd do it. But
it is a lot of commitment.
Until then, rest in peace, Patreon.
You've made this switch from music, and you've been doing art in the background, obviously. You mentioned Scream 4. That was one of the first starts. I think you did some video documentary or something before that, but there was, you worked on Star Trek Into Darkness, Savages, Gone Girl.
Yeah, I did. We Bought a Zoo was right after. Tons of stuff. I've been doing a lot more TV lately, honestly. I did this last year I did American Horror Story just for an episode or two, and Santa Clarita Diet. I made something for that. Actually, I worked on the last season of that as well. So, but yeah, doing a lot of TV stuff lately too. But yeah, that's just in the prop world, building props, designing those and stuff like that. But it's kind of become more of a bill-paying gig, and trying to transition more into making my own content.
Right.
So hopefully, Dry Blood will be a trendsetter in that regard.
Well, and you've been doing some music videos for like Aesthetic Perfection, Elias Black, who's here in town as well.
Oh yeah,
you've been doing some visual effects and direction for that too.
Yeah, I try to do at least one music video a year just to just to stay in practice making films. I mean, making Dry Blood as of last November. It has been 4 years since I started the project in terms of just starting writing and things like that. So a feature really takes up a lot of your time. And, although we only filmed for 19 days, I did all of the editing and the coloring and the visual effects on it as well. So, and then, there's a lot to do in terms of promotion and festivals. And so when you work on a feature, especially when you don't have a budget for a huge crew, it really is a huge time drain. So I try to throw in at least one music video a year in the middle of that, and some short films sprinkled in too, just to stay in practice making films.
Man, editing just video, guys, I don't think anybody knows just how crazy it is. But like, you spend hours on just 5 minutes, like hours upon hours, and just like you got to get that cadence in there and making sure everything's right. So
yeah, I like it though. It's to me it's fun. I mean, there's very little of the filmmaking process that I don't absolutely love. That raising funds I hate, and the mountain of paperwork that you have to deal with I hate. But other than that, I really enjoy all the steps.
Yeah, just laser focus and get in there, and then you realize 10 hours have passed and you didn't even know what happened.
Oh, yeah. Several years passed by.
Well, yeah, because I noticed, like, in the movie, when I watched the movie, I looked at the license plate, and I was like, I freezed it, and I was like, okay, when was this shot? And it was like 2015, like December, what do you call it, license plate where it canceled, or the insurance canceled, or whatever, the registration.
Oh, yeah. Man, good eye.
I'm that guy.
Yeah, it was a while ago. I was it was a younger version of Clint. So when I do another movie, I'll age drastically in between every film at this rate.
Yeah. Do you actually? I wanted to talk about that a little bit because like you have directed some of your films, and Dry Blood, you pretty much wrote, starred in, you produced, you edited visual effects with your brother, I'm assuming, or
yeah, my brother helped out with some of the visual effects stuff. Yeah.
Okay, I was taking a stab at it, but yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of the visual. There's actually very few shots in the film that don't contain a visual effect, which is weird because when you watch the film, it doesn't seem that way at all. But there's a lot of just cleanup. There's things you can't do at a certain budget level, like close roads and things like that. And we wanted the town to feel empty and isolated, but it was a regular ass town, so we had to digitally remove. I don't know, like 50 to 60 something cars from the background, those shots, and things like that. So there's tons of digital work that's invisible. And then, of course, removing like blood tubes and wires and things like that, So there's a lot of digital effects in there that hopefully the audience just doesn't realize.
No, I thought it was actually really good. I was impressed. I was like, wow, they did that. I was like, I thought you had hired somebody. I didn't know how far you went into the visual effects, but it sounds like you've been doing it a lot.
Yeah. I did a music video for System Sin, a song called Daydream from a Deathbed, and I had done a Kickstarter for it, or an Indiegogo campaign, and ended up, this was my first crowdfunding campaign, and I didn't factor in shipping for all the the prizes that people would win. So after I manufactured all the prizes and did the shipping, there was actually very little money left to do that music video. And it was a big special effects music video in terms of visual effects. And I got a bunch of quotes, and the quotes weren't even anywhere, just for the visual effects alone, weren't anywhere close to the amount of money we had. So I actually just bought a copy of After Effects and started learning it just so I could do the visual effects for that. And then then I just started doing more and more of that. So every project I do, I end up doing a lot of the visual effects work on it. So by the time I got to Dry Blood, I had a little bit of a visual effects arsenal in my back pocket to be able to pull that stuff off. And
I was pretty impressed, man. I gotta say, I was like, this is not easy. This is pretty tedious work.
Thanks. There is just to give a plug for a site that I'm not affiliated with at all. It's just a rad site, videocopilot.com. It's just a great After Effects tutorial site, and they have millions of free tutorials on there. And if you want to learn visual effects, that's a great place to start. That's how I started.
Hey man, that's how I even with music, I was like doing YouTube videos and like trying to figure out how to do compression and all this other stuff. So that's what it takes sometimes, you know?
That's one of the cool things about the age we live in now. Anything you could possibly want to learn how to do, someone else has already figured it out and put a video online for you to absorb that information for free. And it's kind of great. So if there's something you want to do, there's a video on YouTube on how to do it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, especially nowadays, people are just producing content in mass. Like, it's just ridiculous how big it's gotten over the last 10, 15 years alone. Before we get too far into it, first of all, why don't you tell us what Dry Blood is about so that they have an idea for those who haven't seen it yet, obviously.
Okay, sure, yeah. Try to be as spoiler-free as possible, but basically a drug addict goes out to this cabin in the woods type scenario to try to sober up. And while he's in the cabin, he starts seeing things, and he doesn't know if they are ghosts, if they are hallucinations, from his withdrawal, things like that. And that's the setup of the film, and then it all goes downhill from there.
It does have crescendos at the end there with some pretty crazy stuff, guys. Now, and you also starred in this film, which you wrote, produced, edited, visual effects. We talked about all that, but this is pretty much your film that you've been waiting to get out for many years now. And as you mentioned, it's a passion project. You decided to have someone else direct it, Kelton Jones, to direct on this one too. How did that come about?
Well, I've never directed a feature before. I've done short films, music videos, and things like that. But hopefully this coming year, I will tackle directing a feature. But I had started a screenwriting group, where I believe there were 6 of us, and we would all just bring our scripts to this writing group and read each other's work and critique it. And one of our mutual friends had brought Kelton into this group, which is where I met him. I had written another script, a punk rock crime drama. Kelton read that script and wanted to direct that. And so we started on the process of fundraising on that. And we quickly, well, not quickly, we very slowly discovered that was a very expensive film to produce. And that's one that, I still plan on making at some point in time in the future. And I'm still working toward that. But it's very expensive because there's a lot of music that has to be licensed in there and all kinds of things. It's definitely in the millions in terms of budget. It's a huge cast. It's an ensemble cast. And we just could not raise the money we needed to make that. And so we decided, let's try to make something a little smaller right now, kind of cut our teeth on a feature with something smaller. And hopefully that will build up enough traction to where then we can get the ball rolling again with this other film. So that's kind of how we fell into it. And then that's how Kelton ended up directing Dry Blood, because we just, took what we had in place already and with the other film, and then just moved forward together to make this, which was an idea I had kind of been kicking around for a little bit. But once I started writing it, and second or third draft, I showed to Kelton, and he really liked it. So we just pushed forward with that. So now,
you mentioned you will be trying to direct in the future.
Definitely, yeah. That is the goal. I will say too, just about being cast in Dry Blood. That was not intentional at all. I didn't think the plan was never to cast ourselves in the film.
Yeah, well, no, I kind of wondered. That was my next question.
When I wrote the script, when I write anything, scripts or stories or whatever, I don't pre-cast them with actors or anything like that. I kind of let the characters become their own people in my mind, at least. So never in a million years did I think that I would be playing any role in the film, let alone the lead role. But then Kelton had suggested it. I think as we were just going over the script, he thought that I had a pretty good understanding of who the character was, which, you get just by writing the thing. And so he asked if I would do it, and it had been a long time since I'd acted in anything, but I told him, let's try it out. And if he liked what I was doing, then, we could go forward with it. But if I was awful, then, he would have to tell me so I wouldn't embarrass myself. But he liked what I did. So, he did it.
Guys, he really unleashes the fury on the screen here for you. So I don't want to ruin anything, but it was pretty unsettling at times because, like I told you when we were pre-show bantering about how, laid back and friendly guy that Clint is. But when you see this, you'll be like, oh, wow. So what was that like to go wild for you? Like, how did you feel about that?
Yeah, it was pretty tough, really. I mean, when you see, there are a few, not to spoil anything, there are a few moments in the script when I raise my voice. I think that's probably the first time I've ever actually yelled at anyone, and as long as I can ever remember. So I'm just not an angry or aggressive dude at all. So it was kind of it was weird for me, but it was a good experience. It was interesting. It was very challenging to get into the headspace of that character and try to portray him in what I thought or hoped would be a realistic way.
Right? Was it cathartic at all?
I don't know. I mean, it probably fucked me up a bit, but but I mean, the real challenge with that is that I couldn't. I mean, I really tried to get into the head of the character, and when the cameras were rolling, that's where I was in that headspace. But the moment that Kelton would call cut, I had to go back into producer mode. So it was really just flip-flopping between this character and then, having to be a producer and, get things done. That was the real challenge, is just kind of switching back and forth.
Well, yeah, because I can imagine. And this movie's pretty brutal, guys. Like, there's some serious brutality, and I wondered if some of that was the visual effects or what. Was there practical effects in this with visual, or I couldn't even tell? That's how good it was.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Everything is based in practical. We did, all the actors that sustained damage, shall we say. But our effects team, Chad Engel and Sue Sinclair, they had made, effects dummies and all kinds of shit like that. So we had practical elements on everything. And then there was some stuff that we cleaned up in the visual effects side of things. For example, if you had to pipe in 5 different blood tubes into an effects rig, well, you can't just leave the tubes sitting there on camera. You have to take those out. So things like that. Or,
little things. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And, well, this isn't too much of a spoiler because it's on the fucking poster for the movie, but there's one ghost you see, which is a little girl walking around with her head cut off. So like in the case of that, obviously we couldn't behead a girl and have her still walk around. We tried, and we went through 5 or 6 girls, and we realized they weren't going to walk around, so we had to do it fake. No, I'm just kidding. We didn't really behead anyone.
We had strings and pulleys. It was really awkward.
Yeah.
A lot of visual effects work.
Yeah, so the effects team made like a kind of a bloody prosthetic that went around her neck. But then in post, I had to digitally remove her head, and then where the stump would be, because obviously her real head was in the way of that, I had to draw in. I basically made a little cartoon over her neck, frame by frame drawing of her, like esophagus and spine and all that shit. So
wow.
Yeah, so it's very much a little bit of animation in there, but it seems to have worked real well. A lot of people people have liked that effect.
Yeah, man, it looked good. Like I said, I was really I was trying to slow it down just because I was like, man, I just, in my mind, I picture how much time that takes, frame for frame.
Well, that's the type of thing, when you're doing an indie film,
Mm-hmm.
and we didn't have distribution at that time. So I had all the time in the world to try to make it look as good as I could with my skill set at the time. And so I just really took my time with it. And I knew there would be some shortcomings just from, budgetary shortcomings that you can't get around. But the things I could control, I wanted to be really cool. And so I really tried to make those visual effects look as good as I was able to at the time. And that's it.
Well, let me ask you this, too, because you worked on this for quite a while. What was some of your favorite moments of making this film, whether it's in post or pre or wherever? What was some of your favorite moments, or was there any funny stories on set?
Yeah, I enjoyed the whole process of shooting it. It was great, really chaotic though. What would happen is we would shoot for the day, and then everyone would go to a rental place that they had. But I would stay and go through all the footage for the day and get dailies ready for the next day and so forth. So I ended up only sleeping probably an average of 3 hours a night. The most I ever slept on that whole shoot was 4 hours. That was the longest I slept. So that was a little grueling.
Great for the character, but probably not for working.
Yeah, because it was almost entirely shot in chronological order with a few exceptions. So because of those conditions, as the film goes on, I got more and more tired and deranged, and kept dropping pounds too. So it actually worked for the progression of the film. But funny stories. I don't know if they're considered funny or not. But there's there's one scene that takes place upstairs where we spilled so much blood. I believe our effects team told me it was 5 gallons of blood in this one scene, and it leaked through the floorboards and started dripping down on the first story.
Oh, wow.
So that was...
I know exactly what scene you're talking about, too. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
so did you rent that place out and then you had to repair everything?
No, we totally lucked out, and my that is a house that my brother owns. So,
really? Okay.
Yes, he was kind enough to be pretty cool about all that stuff. Obviously, we had some cleanup to do afterward.
Well, 50 gallons, yeah.
If you go to that house now, you'll still see there's still some random blood that's just stained in there that's never coming out.
Try selling the house now,
Yeah.
Well, someone was murdered upstairs in a movie.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
That's great. Well, I may exclude this next question in the editing, but because I don't want to spoil too much for everybody, but you let me know if it's too much, and then we'll keep it in or not. But obviously, you've told us that the main character is dealing with a drug addiction. He goes to get help, basically, by getting clean at his cabin, and obviously, this movie, in some ways, to me, in the story, feels like it's almost like a physical telling of drug addiction and the people that it affects.
Yeah, that's really what it's about at its core. I think it all. I think a good story, has to start with characters that you can believe and get behind. There has to be some kind of a human drama in there. And so that's really kind of where everything starts, is that story of, trying to overcome this drug addiction and mental illness. And then obviously how a person's behavior can spiral out and affect other people in, varying degrees, obviously in the context of this film in an awful, awful way.
Yes. No, yeah.
It's one of those films I think are, that people have to watch a couple times maybe to really start to get the gist of everything. But all the information is there, and we didn't leave anything out. You can unlock the story if you watch the film enough times, but it's definitely not spelled out at all.
Yeah. So the question now is, what would you like to do next? Is it the punk film? Are you going to be doing more film? Do you want to do a new album? I mean, what do you have on the plate currently?
Oh, man, so much. I want to do that punk film. That's definitely something that I've been wanting to do for a while. It's kind of a personal story, and I would love to do that next. I have another script that is like a crazy creature gore fest that I would love to do. That may end up happening first. I don't know. And then I have a couple other scripts. Well, more than a couple. I have a lot of scripts, let's say, and a lot of pitches kind of floating around Hollywood. So the reality of it is that I can't say for sure what's going to be next until someone, until I can get commitment for funding for a particular project. So,
right.
So there's a number of things I have going on. But whatever ends up being my feature directorial debut, it will more than likely be horror or some kind of a crime thriller.
Okay. Can you spoil a little bit about the creature without going too far into detail? Not what it is necessarily, but what it's sort of about, what you're thinking?
Yeah, this is one that can be easily spoiled too, but it's a it's a demonic type creature that can be controlled by human beings to murder on their behalf, that sort of thing.
Nice.
But so aside from just a heavy amount of creature effects, there's just tons of gore, like way more gore than is in Dry Blood. It's just a gore fest, and definitely one of those special effects spectacular type films, if I can make it the way I see it in my head. So I would love to do that, but because it's so special effects heavy as well, the budget for the practical special effects alone is more than the total budget for Dry Blood. So
wow.
It's just raising, back to the whole process of raising funds, and whatever strikes first, that's the next film.
Right. Nice. Well, and so you've been just in a writing frenzy lately.
Yeah, I've been writing scripts for a long time. I usually knock out at least one a year. But this year I've got a couple, or this last year rather. I've been writing a lot more than normal, but that's actually, for me, I guess this is my favorite part of the whole process, is writing. Like, if I could just write for a living, if I had to put everything else aside and only pick a creative outlet, it would be writing.
Nice.
Not that I plan on doing that, but so anytime when I'm able to write more is a good day for me.
Nice, man. Well, and the movie's coming out by Dread Presents on January 15th officially, right?
Yeah, we do have there's a couple opportunities to see it on the big screen, though, if I can talk about those real quick.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, on January 15th, it comes out on Blu-ray, VOD, and DVD. But if you want your last chance to see it on the big screen, if you didn't get the chance to see it at a film festival, let's see, in I'm in Orange County at the Frida Cinema. This is in Santa Ana, I believe. We have a theatrical run for a week from Friday, January 11th through Thursday, January 17th. And at the January 12th showing, which is a Saturday at 10:30 a.m., Kelton Jones, the director, and myself will be there to do a Q&A after the film. So anyway, there's a chance to see it there if you're in California.
Nice.
And if you're in Arizona, which you are, we're going to be doing a screening at Film Bar in Phoenix on January 25th at 10 p.m. screening. And same, Kelton Jones and myself will be out there at Film Bar. So I hope I get to see a lot of my Arizona friends and meet some new ones and show some people this film. One more event to promote real quick is on the release date, January 15th. We're doing a big DVD Blu-ray signing at Dark Delicacies in Burbank, California. That's kind of the premier horror bookshop, horror all things shop in the country, and that's where a lot of the big signings happen in LA. So we're really excited to do that. And so that one will be me, Kelton, Jamie Valentine, who plays Anna in the film, Rob Galuzzo, who plays the clerk in the film, and hopefully some more of our cast. I'm still waiting on other commitments, but that's a good chance to get one. And if you want an autographed copy by all of those people and can't attend, if you go to darkdel.com, that's the website for the store, and you can pre-order it there. There's a special pre-order price from Epic Pictures as well, which is like super cheap now. So if you want to pre-order it and get a great rate on it, if you go to epic-pictures.com, get the Blu-ray DVD there, super cheap in pre-order, and then you'll have your own shiny new copy.
That's awesome, man. I really enjoyed the film. I think you guys will enjoy it too. I'm definitely looking to see what you do in the future as well, man. So good luck to all of that.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming on. And if anything else comes up, let us know, and maybe we'll have you on again, man. That'd be great.
Will do. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, guys, that was our interview, and I want to give a big thanks to Clint Carney and Epic Pictures, Dread Central. You guys should check out Dry Blood. It'll be coming out January 15th, as we said, or you can catch it on the theaters that he announced in the interview, so you're going to want to check that out. Now, we're going to go ahead and jump into our GravePlots. And if you're not sure what that is, we make up a horror movie on the spot by pulling a name out of a crystal skull with diamond eyes.
So we're no longer pulling out of a hobo's ass.
Yeah, no.
We got a crystal skull.
You're freaking me out. But yeah, guys, we're making up a horror movie, so it's really cool. I hope you stick around for this. Let's go ahead and jump into our GravePlots
Right now.
All right, so since you haven't been here in a while, we're just going to give you the honors.
Oh, yay. Stick my hand in the butt. All right, just hold still.
Yeah, good luck. Pick something good, goddammit. Don't fuck us. So we got, oh, by the way, guys, before we announce what this movie is, if you guys ever want to donate a fake horror movie name, we ask that you do two things. One, try to look it up on IMDb, because we are a horror podcast and we do review movies. So try to pick a name that isn't in the imdb.com registry and you can look it up. And two, only send us maybe two suggestions, because we've had some where we got a whole bunch, which we love, but we want to make it fair for everybody else to get theirs read. And you could do that by going to longlivethevoid.com and going to our contact section and selecting GravePlots idea in the drop-down menu. So what is it, Patrick?
The attic door.
Who is it?
It's probably not, there's no name on it.
Let me see.
It is anonymous.
Oh, that's me.
Thanks a lot, Alex.
Okay, we could spin this into something, I think,
If you want to roll with it, dude, I'm fine.
All right. Yeah, we'll have to, so I made it up, so you have to come up with the concept first, sorry.
So the attic door. It could be possibly like a portal to another dimension.
That's what I was thinking. Right. I love shit like that.
So are we thinking alternate dimension, time travel?
Well, I don't think we need to expose what it is right away. Like, if we were to really make a movie about something like fucking the attic door,
right?
We would want to make it, like, drag it out a little bit, but also have some fucked up shit in it. Maybe some gore, maybe some, like, really trippy, like, mind fuckery going on. So what else? What do we got for the...
All right, so we got an attic door. Some kind of dimension, or doorway to another dimension. What are you thinking, city? You thinking rural? You thinking...
I don't know. I mean, it could be like, like some weird shit happens in this house. We don't know where the house is yet, but it could be just a house, and they start seeing or hearing the attic door slam or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so like weird shit starts happening in this house. And like, is
this going to be like the typical, we moved into the house and all of a sudden shit started happening?
I feel like we shouldn't like just go into another world necessarily, but maybe go like drag it out and have like a lot of crazy events in the house or around the house or in the neighborhood even that are causing weird shit to happen. And, we don't know what's behind the attic door till the very end. And even then, maybe we don't even know. Like maybe
you were in the attic the whole fucking time.
Right? Maybe it's in your head. I don't know. Like, I don't mean like you were in a dream. Like, that would suck.
Right.
That's been done to fucking death. But I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I like that.
We can build it as we go. We don't have to like.
So
we just come up with some characters that we think are interesting, or maybe somebody's breaking into a fucking abandoned house, and these kids are like, what do you call it? They're just like street kids, that like break into shit to like squatters.
Right.
They could be squatters for all we know. And then maybe some other guy who kind of lives near notices like there's lights on in the house and like, you know, like, cause they're like having fires or whatever the fuck it is. And like he gets entangled in it or she gets entangled in it or, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so like I really want it to be mind fuckery. So it's like, you never really know what's real or not in some ways. Like I feel like that's always a good combination.
So maybe it could be like a thing where they walk into the attic door and then it's not really an attic door.
Well, you know what? This is starting to remind me of the book I read called House of Leaves, which is, I don't want to say it'll be like this, so we'll have to steer away from that, and I can do that just fine. But yeah, I don't know. Like, so maybe some squatters break in. Maybe that's just the opening scene.
Right. It could just lead on from there.
Right. And maybe, you know, I don't want to do the like, oh, my parents died and so I'm taking over this house. That's been done like 70 million times.
Any way you go about this, it's going to be done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could try to make it as unique as possible. So, what kind of characters, though, do we need in it? Do you like the idea of squatters? Like, do you have any other ideas?
Well, I mean, Squatters is definitely a better take than I would think, like, you know, on family moving into a new house, because it's just been done over and over and over and over and over.
I think, you know what would be cool, would be interesting, is to start the movie out in the past, but maybe like the 80s or something like that, where the house didn't have a history to it. Do you know what I mean? And so, like, an event happens where a lot, like, the police, the sheriff or whatever in this town, this small town, I would assume, sees some shit going on, or the neighbors see some shit, and they can't explain it kind of thing, and they hear screams and lights are coming out of the, like, whatever.
Well, what if?
Do you know what
I'm spitballing here.
No, hold on. Like, this is just like, think of it this way. This is just like when you watch a movie, there's always that stinger in the beginning,
right?
And it's like, what the fuck just happened? And then they start devolving the story. But this could be something that took place in some past time, and you know, some crazy shit happened in the neighborhood, and then the lights go off in the house, and it's shining really bright, and then it just stops. And all the crazy stuff, people disappear, things are weird. And then you're like, fast forward, you know, to today when maybe the sheriff is like retired and, you know, stuff like that.
Okay, stop me if you don't like this, but I'm going to start spitting it out. So what if in the 80s, normal house, nothing's wrong with it yet. Something happens. Maybe it's like some kind of event like Halley's Comet, or they think there's a comet passing by Earth. What if that comet crashes into the house and somehow,
go ahead,
whatever it is that's connected to this asteroid is otherworldly, right? Okay. And it affects the actual house itself, anything that it touched. And let's say like the people who wanted to build a house on the same plot used reclaimed wood, and it was the same wood from that house.
I think that might be a little bit too much of a stretch, just in my opinion.
Right. That's like I said, I'm just spitballing.
But, I mean, I guess the idea of something crashing into it and then acting like it never happened might be interesting. Or it disappeared. Right. Like right before it was going to happen, or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, you like comets, huh? You know, I just watched, Maximum Overdrive recently.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
That wasn't really a comet, though. It was like...
Yeah, it was, dude. It was, there was a comet that was passing by the Earth very close, and the tail of the comet, which, like, made the whole Earth green for, like, a week. Right. And it caused all the machines to come to life during that time. That's what that was about.
See, I forgot about the comet part. I thought it was just like this mysterious green fog that started covering the Earth.
Yeah.
That's what, yeah.
No, I just watched it recently. I'm a fucking huge fan of that movie.
Oh, it's definitely good, dude.
Yeah.
That fucking truck is fucking awesome.
Yeah, the Goblin.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I like the common idea, because that like makes it really complex. Like, I would love to, like, guys, we want to make this as complex as possible, but you realize we only have about 45 minutes to do this in.
Right.
And it's like, we don't want to like go hour and a half into this and try to figure out an entire movie. This is really just to get a sort of a concept, a premise that we own, by the way, because we're doing it and putting it out live and stating it also, so fuck you. If you're interested, we would be more than willing to sell this to you, because we've been approached before. So anyway.
We've been approached before? You've been approached?
Yeah.
About what?
Ho-Ho Homicide, which me and Brittany did.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been the wedding movie we did. That was
I want to do that one. That would be my first movie.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, we're getting way off track.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm all reminiscing. It's the whiskey, dude.
Yeah, if you guys want to listen to that, we'll post a link down below. But I'm going to probably forget, so don't hate me.
Yeah, I'll remind him. Don't worry.
I think it would be interesting, like, if there was, like, people wandering around this house.
Right.
In the 80s, a cop pulls up, sees all these people wandering around, weird shit, like, crawling around. You can't really discern what it is. And the cop pulls up, and, like, somebody's, like, shooting people, and he's like, hey, put your hands up. And then this white light or whatever light comes out of the house, like almost like Poltergeist when the house sinks into it, but it's like outwards.
Right.
And this light comes out, and then it blinds him, and then he wakes up and nothing's wrong. And that's when the movie kicks into the credits, you know, the attic door.
Right.
However we want to do that. And then we start to get into the characters that would do it. What do you think?
No, I like it.
The comment's an interesting idea. Maybe we can add it in some way.
No, that's a whole nother movie entirely. If you're going to, trying to add it in later might muddle
it could be parallel dimensions are coming through that door.
Right.
That is the one center piece in the entire existence of all parallel, that when people happen upon this door for some reason at a specific time or for whatever reason, whether this is on a different planet or a different thing, it's a different looking door. It could be a submarine and the door opens and it's some weird shit, and some submarine guy from Russia is like, he's on fucking, what's that fucking Hunt for Red October? Like,
so you're pretty much saying like maybe this door is like just a pathway to anything.
There's some reason
realities.
It connects at certain spots for some reason. We don't have to get into why, because it's more interesting to not know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I like that idea, and I think, did they mention something about the attic door in Donnie Darko?
Did they?
I think they did. The cellar door. That's what it was. Okay, that's why. Okay, anyway. So this is the attic door. It's way higher. It's above.
Yeah, it's above that shit. Way above.
What kind of characters do we want?
Well, you need comic relief.
Well, I mean, we could try our best.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just that kind of guy, just like a little bit of lightheartedness in my shit.
That's what it'll show in the stuff that we come up with, for sure.
I don't know. We want to do like a family? We want to do a couple?
I don't want to do a family.
Yeah, family's been done and done again. Let's just say a recently married couple, newlyweds.
Okay. Well, no. I don't think anybody should live there. I think this house has been abandoned ever since that,
so maybe
that event in the 80s or whatever.
Let's think about it this way. Think about the Burbs. Maybe it's something like that, where everybody kind of notices something about this house that's a little off. I
picture this house to be in the middle of a like big time like podunk country. It's this old house off to the, down this long dirt road that has like, people, like, it's in the middle of the forest, like in this clearing, and they have this house. It's an old farmhouse that people were going to live in. And
how are you going to add characters to it if there's no one around it?
The squatters, man, they're like, they break down outside of the fucking wherever. They're not even from that town. They're outside of the town. They're like street punk kids, you know what I mean? That are just looking for a good time. They're on their way to make, even maybe they're in a band, or you know what I mean? Or they break down, they find a fucking place to go rest.
Right.
Or maybe they go down the road to try to hide maybe it's a stolen car. And they go down the road, and then it breaks down, and they find this house, and they go to it, and they crash in it, and weird things start happening while they're there. So nobody really knows that they're there.
So like maybe they're going down the road to this house and don't even see the house. They just end up somewhere.
And that car breaks down, maybe because of the attic door or whatever,
But like the surroundings that they're actually in is not the house at all. It's somewhere completely different.
What do you mean?
I mean, all they remember is going down that dirt road. And from there, they're in a completely different universe.
Well, I think it should be the same house that was from the 80s.
No, I'm not saying anything about the house. I'm saying they don't even see the house yet. They just turn down the dirt road where the house is at.
Right. They hit something, their car breaks down. They don't know what they hit. It's one of those things.
Right.
Which is kind of typical, but it's also kind of interesting because it's mysterious, and you see blood or some weird shit on the front, and they don't know what it is. You know what I mean?
So they're like looking around. Did we hit something? Is there a deer?
Right. They hear something scream outside as they hit it or something like that, or off in the distance, and be kind of interesting. And they make a joke about it, like, whatever, stop being scared, Johnny.
Right.
Like, don't be such a bitch, Johnny. Why don't you get your fucking Nintendo fucking Switch out and start, that you stole from your little brother. God, you're such a dickhead. Something like that.
For sure.
I think it'd be interesting. So I think it would be, like, good to have a mix of different types of people in that group. What do you think?
Maybe it is like, maybe there's a guy. Well, you said they're all squatters. So if they're all squatters, then they have to be from the same cloth, right?
Well, they don't have to be squatters, but they could be somebody traveling, like, with no jobs and like.
Maybe they picked up a hitchhiker or whatever.
Yeah, like stuff like that. Yeah, like we could even show them going down the road, having a conversation in the van or car or SUV. And they pick somebody up that's brand new, and then they take them into the fold. They break down, they hit something. It's like this interesting kind of dynamic between all these people. Like, and I think it'd be cool. Maybe, I don't want to do they stop by the gas station and the guy's all weird.
Yeah, it's like, go down the road.
Yeah, this is where evil is. That's a little too much, I think.
So, are they all going to discover this house at the same time, or maybe two people go away and fucking, hey, I think there's maybe a house up the road.
I think it'd be good to have like 5 of them, and you could have like different weird things happen for individually for them.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like maybe one of them runs into themselves, or other duplicates of them, or maybe like a really fucked up version of them. You know what I mean? Because it's a different parallel dimension. So, maybe the oxygen wasn't a big part of this planet that they were on, and it became, you know what I mean? Like something like that. Something that changes them. Maybe they have like long trunks or whatever the fuck it is, because parallel dimensions, right?
Right.
Endless, infinite options, infinite changes, infinite.
Maybe the rotation of the Earth, whatever you want to break down the science, like magnetic fields or whatever.
Right.
As it rotates, it's different dimensions.
Maybe this parallel dimension that the door opens up to and lets somebody through is like aliens took over the planet years ago.
Right.
Hundreds of years ago, like the Egyptians or whatever. Instead of leaving like they were supposed to, they come. This is just backstory. You know what I mean? But they stay. And they live on this planet.
Right.
And maybe they have a door in this one specific area. But it's only when they build something with a door in that area. A door-like thing.
Right.
So we can kind of go anywhere with it at that point. But, so let's come up with like the 5 characters. Like, girls, guys, what? Who do we want in this picture? We want somebody, there's got to be dynamics between the characters. So they have to have like... maybe 2 guys that like one person, or like 2 girls that like one guy, or whatever. I don't care. Just characters. They don't have to be specific.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's good. You have 2 guys, 3 girls, maybe 4 people. You talk about 5.
Okay. Yeah. No, we could do that. And let's just break down, come up with a name, just a simple name. Try to figure out what each of these characters we're going to have attached to them,
right.
like what kind of traits they would be. Like, I feel like there's got to be a girl who is kind of a badass, and she doesn't take any shit from anybody.
Kind of like a backwoods girl, like she knows how to hunt.
No, I picture her like just like some like city girl.
Okay.
Who just doesn't take any shit from anybody, and she's
like super street smarts kind of girl.
Yeah, nobody can get close to her. Like they don't even know if she's into guys, girls, or whatever. She's just like a loner.
Right.
And she just doesn't take any shit from anybody. I think that would be kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure. And maybe you're hippie chick, is it grass fed?
I mean, yeah, sure, we could do that. I think we definitely should have like a guy who's also kind of a badass, but more of a prick. Not like to himself. He's just like all about getting attention kind of guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's always like doing cool, fancy, fun things just to get people's attention. Kind of like a walking meme.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like troll, pretty much. Internet troll guy.
Right.
But like in real life. Wait, this is real life, right?
I don't know.
Or is it? Oh, just kidding. Anyway. So we got Chelsea, the badass chick who is a loner. We got Sarah, who is the fucking, like, I don't know, hippie-ish.
Patchouli smelling.
Yeah, she's a big pothead, whatever. We got Brian, I guess, who is like the badass guy who's kind of a douche, who's just a living meme lord. We got, what's another name? Like some like fake name, like Knife or some stupid shit.
Like Jax or...
Yeah, we'll call him Jax. Fuck it.
All right, so Jax.
So what is Jax like? He's kind of a quiet guy, maybe goes along with some stuff, but he's actually one of the smartest people in the bunch, and you really don't know.
Right.
He always fills everybody in on stupid shit that they're doing and kind of makes fun of them in his own weird way, even though he's a quiet kind of guy.
He's like one of those guys that knows like a million different facts.
Right, like whenever anybody's like coming into a problem or like they don't have something, he's always there, like always observing and paying attention so much that he just like hands them the right thing.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's kind of like is an outlier, so he doesn't really... He belongs to this group, but then we're going to have one person who's a hitchhiker, right? You said that they pick up.
Yeah.
And maybe this is like the typical like blonde stereotype girl who is running away from mommy and daddy. And she's kind of a bad girl, but not as bad as she thinks she is.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you don't really know too much about her. And maybe she has something to do with the door.
Okay.
And she's like scared of the house before they go in. Somehow.
Kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like the remake, where they're like, oh, don't go down here.
So let me revise and remind us of this. So we got Chelsea, the badass chick loner, Brian, the douchebag troll lord. What was it? Sarah, the kind of hippie pot smoker.
Right.
Who was the other guy?
Jax,
the other guy who was the quiet, intelligent, observing, smart guy. And then we got the hitchhiker. What is her name?
Alice?
Okay, sure. Alice works
yeah,
because she's going down the rabbit hole into the attic door. Ooh, complex.
Ooh. Didn't see that, did you?
Yeah. So now that we got the characters like out, we kind of have an idea what they would be like. They crash into this thing. What exactly happens? They hear some screech outside, and then they're playing the music really loud, getting to know each other. Whatever banter they have in the van when they pick her up and everything like that. And she's like, what's her name again?
Which one?
Alice.
Mm-hmm. The hitchhiker.
Yeah, the hitchhiker chick. She's like, tells the story of like how she just fucking hates her parents. And she's just like, they're like, so what are you doing out fucking traveling around? Let's just say I don't like my parents too much. But maybe you find out she killed them or something like that, or like pushed them through the attic door to get rid of them or something like that.
So was she, I guess, a previous occupant of this house?
Maybe she travels to other parallel dimensions and she doesn't tell anybody.
No.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, she could be connected to this door in some way. We don't know yet, but there's something connecting her to this house. She may be like weird about it or like really kind of sensual with the door or something, something weird. You know what I mean? Like, there's always like that weird off-putting moment in the film
where she's like fingering like a knot in the door and shit. She's like,
yeah, like something, it doesn't have to be sexual, but I mean like,
God. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's like riding the doorknob.
Shit.
Jesus.
Oh, I just had to go there.
The attic door is real. Jesus.
Now, this is what I call hard wood.
Fuck, I guess it's not a porno, I called you Kyle.
Oh, Kyle. God damn it, Ken.
Patrick.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry about it.
Yeah, it's all right, David.
You fucking cunt.
All right. So there's something that's connecting this chick to this house.
Okay. Somehow we can always like play with that.
What was the event that happened though? Was it something that just totally wrecked their car? Like maybe a cannonball out of nowhere? Like what the fuck is a cannonball?
maybe they're like they want to get fucked up or something like that. They're like, we've been driving for fucking 16 hours. Can we please just fucking pull over and fucking get wrecked for tonight and just fucking have some fun? So he pulls down this dirt road, and as they're like jamming some music, he's like, oh, you want to have some fun? All right, cool. And they play some music, whatever it is.
Okay.
It's some cool music, whatever. I pick, in my mind, it's fucking synthwave of some sort, like synth work. But yeah, they drive, and they're driving really fast, and he's trying to scare the hitchhiker girl that like hit on her because he thinks she's kind of hot in some weird way. And the Brian guy or whatever, and he's the troll lord. So,
right.
But yeah, like he's driving down the road and he hears some screech. You can kind of hear it in the background over the noise. And maybe they have the camera behind some of the grass, so like from that perspective as it's driving down the road. And the other girl's like laughing because she's high, and the other guy's like, can you not right now like try to like get detention right now or whatever? And then they hit something really hard, and then they careen off into a tree.
Okay.
On the road. And he's like, fuck! And he's like, yeah, what is, yeah.
Fuck, man.
And you got the smart guy, Jax, he's just like, puts his thumb up like, yeah, good job, dude. Yeah, you're a real big idiot.
Right.
He's like, fuck you, Jax, you know? So
did anybody get injured in this?
No, maybe lightly, but I don't know.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. It's really just like what makes them stay there.
Right.
So that they can't leave. So, they decided to start drinking and fucking, he's like walking down this road and they finally see the house and he's like, oh shit, there's a house over there, you know, and they go over and they're like, well, that's where we're going to party tonight. We ain't going nowhere anyway. We might as well fucking live it up. So they go into the house, they break in, you know, and there's just like, everything is normal. Like everything is like old plates are sitting on the table. Like somebody had a meal and just left.
Right.
Like it's really weird. And, I don't know if it's dusty or dirty in there, but maybe, yeah.
Maybe, yeah, like it's been maybe left alone for like 20 years or something, and dust has settled, and maybe even that everything in it's from like a different era.
Right.
And maybe, this is just something I just thought of, but maybe without them knowing, the whole house changes from different generations. Like,
yeah, well, maybe
this is the shit from 60s,
maybe it's not even
70s.
just the attic door; it's infected the other doors or something.
Yeah, like they're like a virus, like it's spreading into the ground,
right.
and like
maybe because they call it the attic door because that's where the source of the power comes from, but
right.
It's affecting other doors. So they're really when they go through doorways like by themselves and shit,
it's really another dimension.
They're like,
this actually seems like another thing we did, dude.
What? No. We did Labyrinth Man, which you're talking about,
right?
Where yeah, but it's a little different. It's a little different. We can still make it cool,
right?
That was a protagonist. There was a protagonist and antagonist that was like a monster,
right?
So we figured that out. But yeah, this one's a little different. So yeah, I think it'd be interesting. Like, you don't really know while you're watching the movie that they're going into different dimensions because it's such a small degree of change that, you know, maybe the badass girl all of a sudden in one dimension isn't as badass anymore, and the hitchhiker's not there in another one. So it's kind of like bouncing through these parallel dimensions, and you don't realize it. The viewer doesn't realize it.
So should we have a focal point? Like, are we going to be watching this movie through one person's experience? Are we going to like...
No, it'll be bouncing around all the different characters, and the viewer will experience weird shit happening because they're in a different dimension and they're just like an offshoot of themselves, or like different, you know, maybe it's even a different person and they're like, who the fuck are you? Like, he's like, what do you mean? Who the fuck am I? You picked me up on the side of the road? No, we picked Alice up on the side of the road. Who the fuck are you?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he even calls her by a different name, and then she goes back through the door and she's back with her friends again. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Maybe to the point where it's like the door is fucking with somebody so bad that they kill somebody just from something they did in an alternate dimension.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. And then when it like devolves into like ultimate crazy shit where they're just like going through doors and people are like killing each other, like they're watching themselves kill themselves.
Yeah.
And shit like that. Like,
oh yeah, dude.
It gets really mental, like fucking crazy shit. Like I that's the kind of shit. This is the kind of shit I love.
Oh yeah, dude.
So where do we go from here? Shit, like, okay, so they go into the house, they break in. You know, we don't want to like make things weird right off the bat, but we can kind of make
little eerie
tones
here and there. Maybe, like I said, when they come in, maybe it's stuff from like the 60s, old TV, black and white, you know, all this sort of aesthetics that you would assume to see in the 60s.
Well, I would assume that there's no power to this place.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, this is an old abandoned house that has been forgotten. There's grass overgrowing. And maybe even one time when they walk out the front door, it's all clean and proper.
Right.
Outside, and there's like
somebody
getting their mail.
Mm-hmm.
And like, hey, what are you doing in my house? And they're like, wait, what? Like, they go out at night and it's daytime.
Right.
Shit like that. Because there's like a different cycle of sun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? By 4 hours or whatever the fuck it is. You know, like, it's kind of interesting, right?
Mm-hmm. So they party the first night, right? Nothing's wrong at this point.
But yeah, but there's got to be some things like in the distance, like maybe that Alice chicks goes off separately by herself.
And maybe she hears like the radio, if there is a radio. Maybe it's saying something that it's happened in the past, but it's happened differently this time around.
Well, maybe they even wake up and it's still dark.
There you go. Okay.
Kind of like in the Blair Witch, they kind of do something like that. The new one.
Mm-hmm.
The sequel, I guess. Yeah, it was a sequel.
It was a sequel. Yeah. I don't want to get into that. So let's say
that had an attic too. Oh shit! What are we doing?
It did have an attic, didn't it? That was a really dope scene. Is this going to be like a group
Well, maybe one of them is like really into pot, but then, Brian's kind of like a tweaker sort of guy, you know what I mean? He's kind of like into doing meth and shit like that. And, but he also does drinking and pot, and he's pretty much excess, the embodiment of excess pretty much. And, he sort of like gets Sarah along with it because like Sarah's a little quiet, but not really, you know what I mean? She's a pothead and stuff like that, but like he's like hitting on her and Alice.
Oh, so he's just kind of like, whoever wants
Yeah,
it.
like
I'm just throwing it out
he's
there.
a troll lord, you know what I mean? Like he does whatever he wants. But anyway, so maybe, yeah, they do that. Like, but there should be like a small event that happens the first night that they party. Maybe they get a knock at the front door.
Okay.
Or they hear knocking upstairs, maybe. There you go. The attic door.
Yeah.
Like, it's just something smaller that doesn't even lead to it. It could mean something later on.
Right.
Like, we could, at the end of the movie, it could backtrack to that moment.
Kind of like that scene in Evil Dead where it's like, oh, the cellar door shut. What the fuck's going on? Right.
Well, no. More like it was one of them coming through the door and they were freaked out and they went back up and slammed the door. Maybe they creeped down to the party to see themselves.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? Like they're entangled in this now because they've entered this house.
Whether it's past, present, another dimension, it's everything.
Right.
I can see that. Maybe they see their friend go into the door and they're like, what the fuck? Wasn't this downstairs? And they end up walking into the cellar door.
I almost know how I want to end this too.
Really?
Yeah.
Already? Wow.
I kind of have an idea, like that one of them gets the idea to burn the house.
Okay.
And so when they escape, they go through the door saying fuck it, but on the other end of the door, like
it's a house that's on fire.
Yeah, or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
dude, I like that.
Or
really
like maybe they go into the house where they were going to burn it and they didn't in the dimension that we know, but when they go through it in that dimension, they are burning it and they can't get out and they die.
So this is kind of like where you were at.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, I know I'm jumping to the end, but it just came to me. So what if there's a scene, once they figured out what's going on and the cellar door and all this shit, that they run down different scenarios of what they should do? It's like, we can do this, we can do that.
Well,
A, B, and C, right?
Sure.
And then every dimension they go, they're like, oh, fuck, this is the B scenario.
Well,
Fuck.
you really shouldn't even really be dealing with the dimensional thing until the very end.
Well, this is the end of the
Like
movie
the
where they're
last
like,
10
where it comes to a
minutes.
head,
Yeah.
where they, it's like, fuck it, go through the cellar door. And then
What I would like to do with it, what I would do with it is I would try to treat it like a supernatural ghost film.
Okay.
Where they see shadowy people running around. They don't really understand what's going on.
Exactly, yeah.
And then you start to unravel it even further, and it's not just ghosts anymore. It's not just banging on the walls.
It's
or
like
screams.
the previous events that they were talking about that are now actually coming to fruition.
Just like a shadow person walking around and they don't know what it is. It could be creatures too, because like I said, the parallel dimension that this house is, it could be a submarine door if all they care. It has to be in this area, like whatever it is. And maybe that area got washed over by the ocean and they're, however many meters down in a submarine one time, and they open it and they go through the door and they're in a submarine and like, what the fuck?
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Oh,
yeah. Or vice versa.
Right.
Anyway. So we were having the party. We hear a door slam. Later on, we'll find out that it is actually somebody from the party that came down and saw themselves and freaked out. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. Almost kind of reminds me of a Plus One.
Kinda, yeah. But it will make this a little bit darker because I want to see them stabbing themselves, like killing themselves. And like one of them from another dimension is like going through different dimensions, killing themselves because they don't want any duplicates of them. And so, You see what I'm saying?
Or they know that there's that one faction of the group that's like, that guy needs to fucking die.
Right.
I like it.
So it'd be kind of interesting that way. Like they can't handle that there's more versions of them and they want to keep killing it. So
maybe they go investigate the cellar door, and when they get to the cellar... What?
Not cellar door.
Not attic door. Attic door. And then they maybe see like a growth, some kind of rot or something. Maybe
that'd be cool.
And they kind of see it spreading through the house.
Right. Maybe it's like it has this weird acidy smell that like smells like something's burning, but also like kind of putridy smell.
Right.
Okay, but we hear the door slam and they stop the music. Maybe they have like a iPod playing on some fucking speaker or whatever. They go upstairs. They go to investigate it, and they're like, what the fuck, is somebody here? You know what I mean? They're like, oh fuck. And he's like, fuck this, hold on. And he breaks a leg off a table or something like that. And he's like ready to pound somebody with the, Brian is, you know, cause he's Mr. Man. He goes upstairs. They don't find anything except they see a shadowy person in one of the rooms, like maybe Brian does, and with somebody else. And then they run back into the attic, and then the door slams again. And then he's like, what the fuck? And then he opens the attic and he pulls the light, and it's just a, you know, one of those chain lights, and there's nothing. It's just a closet or like an attic, but there's nothing in there. It's like completely barren. There's like nothing in there when they open it up. And he was like, ain't nothing in there. That was fucking weird. And they go back to party, and they wake up next day. So like one of them goes off to try to figure out how to fix the van. Like they're going to go make a call outside. They're not getting reception, obviously, because it's, you know, maybe they're in another dimension already and they don't even realize it.
Right.
Maybe the van's not there in one dimension when they go out the front door. Maybe the person who left to go get the van fixed or get some help disappears and never comes back because they never came back to the parallel dimension that they were coming through.
You know, I was thinking like some kind of signal to the audience to let them know when shit's kicking off and when dimensions are switching. Okay. Like, and it's totally audible to the characters in the movie as well.
You think?
Yeah, I would think that's like maybe like after they fucking freak out, they go upstairs.
I think it should be seamless. So you as the viewer and the people in the character have no idea.
Right.
Because we could play with that. Like if we were to like really sit down and do the script, and it would be very complex. We would have to literally draw a diagram as to what dimensions they went into. Right. For our own sake, for backstory and everything like that.
Well, I was just thinking, like, you know, they go up to the attic, they see the rot, they see, you know, the shadowy figure. And then once shit calms down, they're like, do you hear that? And maybe it's just like a high tone. You know what I mean? Like a high frequency noise that kind of like signals that maybe it just dimensions are shifting.
Maybe it just sounds like ear ringing.
Right, exactly what I was thinking.
I don't think it should happen every time. I think it should just be every once in a while. Like every time they go through a door that might be a little too...
Well, no, just when they're passing into their dimension. Not so much they're going through, but just when it's breaking through their own reality.
Okay, all right, sure. And then what?
And then something weird happens. So after they see the shadow figure, they kind of still hear this tone going on. And they're trying to discover where it's at. Okay. And maybe someone goes out and they discover that the van's gone all of a sudden.
I think it'd be interesting. Yeah, that would be cool. So maybe this is what I was talking about. So what if one of the people, it could be Jax or something like that, leaves, right. Okay? He leaves to go get help, call on the phone, get a tow truck, whatever. And when he walks out, like they're all waiting for him to come back, and they open the door. They don't see him out there. They eventually go to investigate, like, what did he do? And their van's not even there.
Exactly. Totally. And he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. He was like, what, did he get it fixed and fucking bail on us or something like that? And then maybe when they all come back in, they see Jax over top of himself, stabbing himself in the head over and over again. And they go back out the front door and shut the door like, what the fuck? Yeah. And then they go back in and there's no blood, no nothing.
Right. Oh, dude, that's perfect.
You see what I mean? But it's got to be like brutal. Like, I want to see that fucking, like he's stabbing somebody in the face with a screwdriver.
Maybe it's not even a screwdriver. Maybe like a hammer.
And maybe he's like screaming something too, like, you know, it's not me! It's not me! It's not me! And they're like, what the fuck?
I mean, maybe he just took the car or something? I don't know. It's just, he's so weird.
You're not fucking me! You're not me! You're not me!
Shut the fucking door!
It's not me! And then they shut the front door and they're like, okay. And he's like, Brian's like, fuck this. And he goes in to like attack him. Like, I don't know what I just saw. Like, they don't even know if that it was him himself.
Right.
And Brian, but he goes in and they're not even there. The Jax guy's not stabbing himself anymore. And he even trips over a table or something that wasn't there before when they were in the house before. You see what I'm saying? Like,
oh, yeah.
I like this because then you can play with each of the characters going in different doors and then they're meeting different versions of themselves. But maybe Brian goes in by himself and does shut the door. I don't know.
So he knows shit that other people haven't seen yet. So he already has like a preconceived notion of who Jax is. He's a killer. We need to get him.
Right.
And the rest of the people don't even comprehend this.
And maybe Jax comes back later that night.
Right, and they fucking kill him.
Well, they don't trust him, obviously, because they saw him killing somebody, and they're like, what the fuck is going on? And he was like, yeah, I got the tow truck guy. He towed the truck, and I've been looking for you guys. Where the fuck have you been? And he's totally normal, but they're like questioning him and shit. And like, even, what's her name? Chelsea. The crazy, the badass chick who's like kind of a loner. She's like holding him against the wall. You think you're going to pull that fucking shit with me? You're going to fucking die. And he's like, whoa, like seriously? What is going on, guys? So he actually was able to get back to the same dimension, or so you think.
Right.
We can play with that.
Oh man, it's so complex.
Yeah, I know. Like, this is one of those movies that you would literally have to draw a diagram and come up with like,
and everything
where
has to
each
connect.
of the characters would be.
A has to go to B, and B has to go to C, and like, yeah, it's fuck.
So
Dude.
who's going to be the one that lives and goes through the door and then dies? Because we got to have the ending that they go through the house, and on the other end, Brian's burning the house down because he's freaked out because even he got trolled and he doesn't understand it, and so he's like burning the house. Maybe he even killed everybody in that dimension and like himself, and she sees himself kill himself as the fire's coming up the stairs, and she goes to open the door and it's locked.
Or yeah, that works. Or it's like, you know, they're back to the point where they've seen the shadow figure again, and maybe it's a shadow figure of Brian, and they all run into the room. And as soon as they go through the room, everything's on fire.
Yeah.
And then they run back out.
I kind of like that Brian's doing it because he seems like the loose cannon.
Right.
Like he thinks he's always got it together, but he doesn't really. And so like anything that was to actually throw off his troll or his like, you know, control of the world would really fuck him up.
Right.
Because he thinks he's got it all together and he just knows how to toy with the world, but really it's toying with him and he can't handle it. So he starts killing everybody in that dimension. And so when she goes back, I would say that the hitchhiker chick who goes through the door, or Chelsea, one of the two. Chelsea's kind of a cool one because she's kind of the stronger chick.
Right.
I think that would be kind of interesting.
It seems like Chelsea and me would be the heroine at the end. Like the one that kind of tied everything up.
But what
do you got?
So
give it to me.
So how would I do this? How would you do this? Okay, so I have an idea. Like Alice, the hitchhiker, is from parallel dimensions, or she's one, and she keeps bringing people into this house.
Or maybe she's Chelsea, but in a different dimension, she's Alice.
No, well, maybe, but I mean, I think that the hitchhiker is the reason she picks up hitchhikers to bring him into this house.
Right.
For whatever reason. You don't know why.
Keep the cosmic energy flowing.
Maybe she's just like eating food when they have the party and stuff and they hear the door slam and she's just like, oh, it's probably just the wind, you know, whatever.
Right.
She doesn't care. And you're like, no, very clearly I heard a fucking door slam and a scream or whatever. And they go up, but she doesn't. So she's really kind of like coaxing them to
go investigate.
Right. And maybe in some alternate reality, these were her friends and she's trying to find the right one. But when they're not, I don't know.
No, I like it. It's
so she's trying to find
crazy.
the you know what I mean? And it's almost like time shifting too. So it's not just like,
well, maybe she lost her original friends and she's just trying to find friends that are comparable to her old friends.
But maybe she's not even human.
Hey now.
You see what I'm saying? Like I just
like you keep on fucking
throwing some zingers out there.
Dude, yeah, it's getting more deep as we go.
It could be something as like, this is what I picture. Like the girl goes, so maybe like you think that the chick is the Alice chick, the hitchhiker at the very end. You don't realize that she's connected until the very end. So when when Chelsea goes in to run away from something, whatever it is, and we're going to throw in like 3 cool things that would happen in this movie, and then we'll end up where that is. But she goes through the door and she tries to go back, and maybe Alice locked the door, and you see Chelsea burning, and then you see Alice walk down the stairs, like putting on her iPhone, like tunes or something, like some cool track.
Right. And
she walks through a door and the light shines. And then the next scene you see is her out on the fucking road again, hitchhiking from her perspective. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she's like, hey.
Like she almost blinked her eyes.
And it's
all of a
almost
sudden,
exactly like And then when she
and maybe characters' roles are reversed.
Like here, like think of it this way. So like in the beginning of the movie when she's getting picked up, she does a specific thing. Maybe she's like, "Yeah, let me just go get my bags. Is that cool?" And they're like, "Yeah, hurry up, girl. We got a party."
Right.
Whatever. And then she goes to get her bag, and then you see her eyes blink or something, like not blink, but like her eyes change color or something like that. So you know that it's like even deeper than just the doors.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So at the very end, when she turns to grab her bags, you see something like her tongue split or something like, or something weird that would just like lead you to think like, what the fuck is really happening?
You mean just like just a subtle nod being like, this isn't right.
Yeah. Like this goes way deeper.
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? So like when Chelsea goes in and gets the house gets burned down, she gets burned alive and Alice locks the door from the other end. So she can't get back in some weird way. Like, and you wonder which she's a bigger part of. But you also find out that she's not, you know, and the backstory for us is that she's been trying to find her friends. The viewers wouldn't know that.
Right.
But she's also not human. So she's some sort of hybrid.
Like maybe she could be one of those dimensions, like you were saying. Right. Aliens came here.
Exactly.
Breed it with...
Or put it in their fucking water for all we know. We don't know.
Right.
Yeah, it changes their fucking...
Saltpeter.
Yeah, we don't know. But anyway. So let's come up with like 3 or 4 instances in the movie that would happen that we would think would really be cool. Like just cool scenes that we could add in there. Like I added the one with the fucking...
The hammer.
Jack's like taking a hammer and cracking open himself saying, you're not me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like blood splatting on his face and he's like looks over at him. He's like, who the fuck are you? And then they shut the door. And that's when Brian goes into, he's like, fuck this shit, I'm taking him out. And then he runs in, and that's when, you know, whatever. But what are some other things that could happen, and then maybe in the night?
Well, since we've kind of like established that this infection is no longer just in the cellar door, that it's like the
door.
attic door.
That's the name of the movie.
Attic door.
It's the name of the movie, Pat.
Sorry, I'm being very, what was the word I fuck up all the time? Specific.
Specific. You fucked it up.
I know, I always fuck it up. Anyways, let's say Patchouli girl, what was her name? Sarah, yeah. Sarah.
Pothead chick. She's going out to do some gardening. Or it's just find wildflowers or some shit.
Right. She's looking for something. Maybe she had like a rash from something from the hike, and she like knows this, you know, home remedy where she's like, oh, I saw some wildflowers over there. It's for this, whatever. I may be going too deep.
Yeah, you're going way too deep with that way. Yeah, I don't want to know about Sarah's rash. Let me be honest.
You go see a doctor about that.
She's got gyne-lotrimin. She's putting it on. Go ahead, Pat.
So she got the calamine lotion, right? And she's just rubbing it. All right.
Jesus Christ. I was just joking. And you
just take it and run. All right. So let's just say she goes out to the fucking van to get her supplies or her bag of goodies.
Right.
And when she opens the door, maybe she sees herself ODing or maybe doing something even fucked up like that.
Oh, that's interesting. So she sees her. Okay, yeah, here, check this out. What if it's, okay, so she goes out to the van to get something maybe. She's like picking flowers on the way down the road because she's just into that shit, whatever. Right. She goes down to the van to get something out of the van to get it, and she finds herself ODing on drugs and foaming out of the mouth, and she's like trying to she's like scared, and she also doesn't want to let herself die because in some weird way it's like she's letting herself die.
Right.
So then you hear a loud bang into the side of the fucking van, and you hear a scream, and it's like something scurries off into the bushes or like into the grass. And it's like you know.
What was that again?
So like, yeah, hey man, I do.
I love it, dude. It reminds me of the thing.
And shit, yeah. So like, he runs into like the woods or whatever, and then she's like, "Fuck that!" and she gets in the front seat, and maybe all of a sudden, as soon as she shuts the door, it becomes night. So it's infected in the van door.
Right, like it's the infection is this.
Right,
is infected the ground and anything that it touches.
Or maybe when it runs off to the grass, she goes to check it out. And then she sees this like weird green sort of like creature running on all 5 legs or some shit, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like looks around a tree and she's like, fuck that, and she gets in the van door, and as soon as she slams the door, instantly it's night.
That 5th bone wasn't a leg, was it?
I don't know. It ain't going in me, so I don't know. But yeah, like, wouldn't that be cool? Like, if you just instantly, as soon as she shut the door,
It's this new
it's
scene.
nighttime.
Right.
No, it's nighttime immediately, and without skipping a beat, no sound, no nothing. The sound of the door is what clicks it to nighttime immediately. And she looks in the back seat, and she's not even there anymore.
Well, maybe at this point, she looks back seat, and there's still somebody there, but it's not her anymore. It's Jax, the guy who originally went out to the van to go get help.
Oh yeah, he was like, "Hey, how did you get out here?
Right, maybe he's like passed out.
Weren't
in the
you
back.
just inside?
Right.
Like, something like that.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of interesting.
And maybe there's something fucked up with Jax, and he's like,
But
dude,
wouldn't-
you tried to kill me. What the fuck?
Wouldn't he be going out in the daytime though? So it'd be kind of weird if he came out in the middle of the night, right?
Well, maybe he was trying to fix the car, and he fell asleep out there in the back of the van, or something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. So he's like, "Whoa, wait, what are you doing in here? I've been looking for you guys. Like, have you been here? Like, I've been all over the place.
He's like, I've been up and down this
I've been
fucking
trying to-
road. I haven't seen the house.
I've been trying to call a tow truck or anything. I can't get any fucking reception. I can't like." And he's like banging on the window. When she sees it turn night, she's like, "What the fuck?" And then all of a sudden, it's like, and he's like, "Yo, what are you doing in there?"
You're like, how the hell did you get here so fast? Maybe it's just him getting to the van.
Right, yeah. Well, no, not just getting to the van, but he's been like lost. Can't find anybody.
Right.
Or something. You know
maybe
what I mean?
he's run down the same dirt track like 5-10 times, and he's just
Right.
nothing.
Maybe he never went back into the house, or maybe, you know, who knows?
Right.
That's a cool one. I like that. That's good. What I want to have more violence and
That's
gore.
so much psychological.
Yeah, I gotta have some gore in here.
So maybe instead of this and discovering him, maybe like instead of her looking back and being like, Jax, what are you doing here? Maybe Jax automatically is on the defensive and just fucking starts choking the fuck out of her, like from behind while she's trying to fucking start the van.
Yeah, and then Chelsea comes out and bashes him over the head.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, that would make sense. Okay. Yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
Then Chelsea and Sarah could bond over that moment. They could run back into the house, and maybe it's like nobody's there, and they're like, wait, what the fuck is going on? There is something not right. And then they hear something scurry in the kitchen, and then like you hear pots and pans fall over, and then like a door slam. And then they go in there, and they're like, what is going on? So then they go into another room, the door slams behind them, and they start hearing like weird like gurgly screaming noises and stuff outside of the room, and they don't know what it is. And so when they open it up, and it kind of opens into the hallway, which you can kind of see into the kitchen, so it's like diagonal. I don't know how to explain it. Through a hallway,
Right.
you can kind of see in there, and it's like the whole kitchen is covered in this green slime, and you don't know why. And so then like, and you hear these clicks and pops, and they go out there, and they're like, what the fuck? And then they run back in that room. Chelsea does, you know, to whatever. And then they go back out, and then everybody's waiting around. They're like, what the fuck where have you guys been? Like, where's Jax? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I think that's really cool. Like,
You know what I like about this idea of this movie is that it could never end.
right. That's what I'm
could
saying.
never end.
You could do it in different versions, like different, almost like how Happy Death Day, if you've ever seen that movie, kind of like it looks like part 2 is going to run together,
Right.
like really heavily. So I kind of like that. I don't know. I mean, Happy Death Day is a little too teeny bopper, but you know what I mean?
It's
Like,
still a good premise for a movie.
right.
I liked it.
I think it's a way better movie than most people give it credit. But anyway, so what is another thing that would really happen to be kind of gory? But maybe we should get back, and when they go back in, maybe they should see somebody like something leaned over their friends. Maybe they're all okay. So when she looks into the kitchen and she sees all that green slime and everything,
Right.
she goes in there and she sees like people sitting at a table. But the closer you get, the more you see that
They're not really
the
people.
slurping or the clicking sounds is something drinking out of their head. Do you know what I mean? Like something is like been feeding on it.
Maybe like you don't even see it. Maybe it's like some kind of alien creature, some kind of
Right. You just see
massive, huge creature
you-
above the house that's slowly draining them from their fluid with some kind of tubes or fucking.
she looks out like, yeah, maybe there's like a tube like that's like sucking out of its head, like
Right.
well, somebody's head. It doesn't even have to be their friends.
Right.
But
it could just be whoever would live there beforehand.
But it could be because, like, ultimately, if you want to kill people in a movie, you typically want to have the viewer know the character enough that the death has some sort of meaning,
some kind of weight.
Yeah, some sort of weight to it. So maybe it could be like, maybe it's like fucking Alice or something like that getting her head sucked on by something that's hanging out of a window that's like, oozing. And then when they look out the window, they see this thing floating up in the sky that just has this glowing eye. And you hear this loud scream and you see stuff like vines crawling over the ground and
Or maybe it
busting
could
through
be-
the windows. And then they go run back in that room, and that's when they go back to their friends.
It could be that same tone they heard at the beginning of the movie, but maybe more intense.
Right.
Maybe slightly altered.
I just think it would be cool to see some sort of thing floating in the sky.
Oh, yeah, dude.
That makes no sense, and it screams this large, like, earth-shattering, like, rumble of a fucking whatever, and then things start crawling across the ground and busting through the windows and ripping the side of the house off, and then she goes back in the house. And
I think someone should die right there. That should be another death scene.
Oh,
right
Sarah. Sarah. Oh, maybe she's trying to help her pull her in the door into the room.
Okay.
And this thing, like, wraps around her waist and then just, like, separates her body from each other, but like you see like the spine and then you just see it snap.
there. Maybe it grabs her by one leg, two legs, and one arm, and it just slowly like rips her into like a piece of paper.
And it could even crawl up her side and like melt off her arm, so that when she falls through the door and the door shuts, like she's got her arm, but when Chelsea goes out the door,
like acid or something like melts it off or rips it off, like at that point.
right. So like when she falls back, she sees the arm melt off. She pulls the hand into her dimension. The door slams. She's like freaking out in the corner, like shaking or whatever. And maybe somebody comes in the door and is like, are you okay? Cause she's screaming. Chelsea's screaming in that dimension, but it's like,
Maybe it's Jax.
oh, hold on. So somebody comes through. Yeah, it could be Jax.
And then she fucking kills him again.
And then Jax comes in and she's holding the hand. Yeah, maybe she kills him. Maybe he's like, hey, are you okay? And she was like, stay the fuck away from me. And then she busts through him or whatever. And he's like, fuck you, dude. And she shuts the door in his face, but she's back out. And then maybe he's there again.
Right.
And so she thinks it's him, but really Alice has been there too, and you don't know that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So she's like really confused, and and you know that there's something going on. So let's add one more kill scene, whatever it may be.
There was a little tweak. Wait.
I
Hold on.
got
Let me
it,
get
I
it out.
got
Let me get. No. Just hold on to it.
Okay.
Just tell me if this is stupid real quick. It might be. So when she gets her arm ripped off, maybe when she comes back to her own reality, Alice has a prosthetic arm from like childbirth or something. But something in...
Well, it was Sarah that got her arm ripped off. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Sarah. But whoever it is in this dimension
Sarah
now
the pothead chick.
doesn't have an arm. She has a prosthetic, and she's had it since she was born.
Right, okay. I think it would be interesting that when Chelsea pulls the hand into her dimension and the door slams, she goes out, or Jax opens the door, and she's like, don't fucking touch me. Leave me the fuck alone. And she slams the door behind her to keep him away from her. But when she goes out, all of her friends and everybody are there tied to chairs with their throats cut.
I like it.
You see what I'm saying? And then she runs out the front door slams behind her. She's in another dimension. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, it just onward.
Right.
But I was thinking...
but here's the other thing
All right.
I have to mention this because we were talking about Brian, the edgelord guy, troll lord. She goes, when she sees all their throats cut, she's like running down the thing. She gets in the van, and then it's daytime or whatever. You know, there's a transition somehow, whether the viewer or they know it or not. And then all of her friends come out the front door, and they're like, "What are you doing? Like, where is Jax? Like, what's going on with Jax?" And Alice is just like, Brian's been hitting on Alice in this dimension or whatever. And maybe in this dimension, they know that there's been some fucked up shit going on. And they're like, dude, there has been some fucked up shit going on. I have entered rooms and seen things that I cannot even fathom. And she's like, you don't even need to explain. So when they go back in the house, Brian, the edgelord, troll guy is like, hey, why don't we burn this fucking house down? There's something fucking rotten about it. We need to fucking kill it. I feel like this house is alive, and I think it has to do with that fucking addict or whatever. But then they're like, fuck that. Why don't we just leave? And in that dimension, they leave, but something happens on the street. There's creatures or something, and she gets chased into the house, goes up the stairs, through the attic door to get away from it. After all these events have happened, she goes through the door, and Brian's on the other end burning the house down.
Well, at this point, I don't think it necessarily has to be the attic door anymore, since this thing has contaminated the ground.
I think it's very important. If the movie's called The Attic Door, we have to end it with the attic door.
All right, so maybe this, like, every door that she opens on the just to try to hide is a different dimension that's fucked up than everything she's seen before. You know what I mean?
Well,
it just leads her to the attic door.
There would be multiple more scenes that we could come up with.
Oh, for sure.
But for time's sake, for our listeners,
right.
I would just say let's end it on a good note. They come out, they know what's up all of a sudden, and she's like, everybody's in on like the fucked up shit that's happened, and maybe every single person is not even from that dimension, and they don't even know. Something happens, maybe they start changing or something like that. Maybe like they start killing each other. Like one of them has a tentacle arm and is like...
Yeah, one of them could be alien hybrid or whatever.
And it's choking out somebody, and then they like panic and it's like killing them, and they're trying to stab it, and she goes running into the house. And she's pacing around the room because she opens up the door and none of that's there anymore.
I think it should be Jack, since we've kind of made him the main antagonist.
I think
pretty much.
Something needs to chase her up the stairs into the attic. And Brian was talking about burning the house down before that happened. And when she goes through the door, maybe it's Alice. Maybe Alice, she finds out that Alice, maybe there's a conversation when they run away from all the chaos that they're killing each other.
Maybe Alice kind of tips herself off by talking about the past, that something that didn't happen in their dimension.
Maybe Alice is like, you know, out of all of them, you're the closest one to who Chelsea really is. Do you know what I mean?
Shit, yeah.
And then something happens, and you don't see what happens, but you see Chelsea's face, and she's scared out of her mind, and you hear noises and things are happening, but they don't show you necessarily.
And then cut to black. The end.
And then no, she runs in the house.
Oh, okay.
And then goes up the stairs, and you hear like maybe like you see tentacles or something like that coming out of Alice, but you don't see her full form yet. And then she goes through the front door, and then you see Alice like tearing through the front door, because I would assume that these are like she's a dimensional creature of some sort. Anyway, she rips off the front of the house, and as everything's getting destroyed, as she's going up the stairs, she goes through and she thinks everything's all right, and she sees the light flicker up behind her, and it's the flames, and Brian's killed everyone and is burning the house, and she can't get out.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then like, then you see the next scene after all of that, and she burns alive brutally. Chelsea does. You see Alice standing out, holding her thumb out for a ride again. And that's when she reaches down for a bag, and you see something, you know, like blink, her eyes blink, or her like mouth open, and it's like some weird shit, alien shit. And then it goes, and then it just starts over.
And I still want to go to the scene where she gets in the van like her normal, and the fucking Sarah girl has a prosthetic arm. Like, you know, like kind of tying that together.
Well, I think it would be interesting if they all kind of looked at each other in some weird like
I know you kind of...
Yes.
Like,
and then they drive down the road after they stare at each other, and she just smiles. Alice smiles.
Maybe like a wink.
And then the van drives off. Music, credits.
Cue. I like it.
Yeah.
I would like to dig deeper into this and actually write some shit down, because it's one of those stories that go on and on and on.
I think it would be really interesting, and I really like this concept. And I know, guys, those of you who are listening, this is one of those episodes where you kind of have to pay attention like you would a fucking movie.
Right.
And just like pay attention to what we're saying and follow us 100%. And I understand, but from what you've heard, and would you be interested in a movie like this? Do you like what we came up with, the attic door? And what would you add or take away from it? Like, let us know in any of the comment sections without spoiling too much. But try your best if you can. Now, the one last thing that we got to do before we finish this up is we got to come up with a tagline.
Okay.
So what are we going to call this?
hell's not always what it seems.
Some doors are not meant to be opened.
It's been used like
Hitchhiking has never been more disastrous. I'm kidding. It can't be something like that. Like spoilery.
Right. Fear knows no bounds.
Or how about what if it's like all things start and begin, or all things begin and end at a door, or something like that.
Right, or like the end is the beginning is the end. Or...
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Not as stupid as that. Like that's been used a million times. Sorry.
Damn you, Smashing Pumpkins!
I'm not Billy fucking Corgan here. All right.
I'd be a lot more attracted to you.
You're
if
like,
you were.
Jesus Christ, shoot down my idea. Just something about doorways. It has to be the attic door.
Every entrance has a doorway.
Or no,
every entrance is a doorway.
No,
it's stupid.
Just something like the beginning of every journey starts with a door.
I like it.
I think that's the best.
Yeah, it's the best we've got. The shit that we just spitballed out.
Yeah. Or something more horror, maybe. Maybe it could be like the beginning of every terrifying tale begins with a door.
Yeah.
Or a doorway.
I like doorway because doorway leaves it open to actual alternate dimensions and shit like that.
So it would be the beginning of every dark tale starts with a door.
Doorway.
Or doorway.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
I like it.
That's
Boom.
better.
Bada bing, bada boom.
The beginning of every dark tale starts with a doorway. There you go. It's a long one, but it's there. What do you guys think? Look, we made this up off the spot, off the top of our head.
Let's be honest here. I was a sounding board, and you came out with a lot of great scenes.
I just run with it, man. Like, I'm sorry if I overstepped anything that you said.
No, I'm just, like I said, I don't mind being a sounding board, dude. I enjoyed doing this.
I want you to be a part of it. I felt like you were a part of it. I didn't think anything else.
Well, I'm just saying, I like to be a part of this, and I think it was an amazing story, and I would actually like to sit down.
Yeah, I would love to
something.
see this. So, producers, Blumhouse, anybody that's listening, you know who to hit up for good ideas. It's Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. Lay some money on my lap, and I'll blow you. Just kidding.
Hey, not really.
No, yeah, I'm not.
If it's enough,
I'm not gonna blow anybody for a fucking idea. I'm just gonna. You just need. You know what?
No, it needs to be from money.
We got the goods.
Not
you know
ideas.
What I mean? I'm totally kidding. Jesus Christ.
Oh, I missed you, bro.
Anyway, man, it was a pleasure to have you back. Hopefully we'll hear back from Brittany soon, guys. So we really do appreciate you sticking around this week. We wanted to give you a little extra this week, so we hope that you enjoyed this episode. Thank you once again to Clint Carney for coming on and doing the interview. Next week, we got Necro, the death rap artist. So stick around for that next week, guys. Thank you so much for coming by, and we'll see you next time.
See you later, guys.
You have been listening to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. Tune in every Monday for a brand new